Ty and I met in middle school. He told me he was going to marry me in the 7th grade, which kind of scared me off a little bit when you're, 10 years old or whatever.
I knew sooner than she did that she was the one for me, but been together ever since 9th grade, and we were married while we were both in college. Got married around at 20 years old, and which is kind of young nowadays, but just kind of a high school sweetheart story that's brought us here today.
That was definitely our dream from the get-go, was just to be together and have a family. That did not go according to plan.
When things weren't working out, we started to consult fertility doctors.
I didn't understand why it wasn't happening. It was definitely a desire, and it was a good desire. It was a good want. I knew the Lord had put that on both of our hearts, but it wasn't happening for us. It wasn't what we had planned out in our minds. It wasn't the road that we thought we were going to be walking down, for sure.
Her number one dream in life was to be a mother. To not be able to fulfill that for that season, and that was tough. It was tough to watch her go through that.
He couldn't fix it for me. I couldn't fix it for him, and that was something that was hard as a couple. So we were definitely, both of us were at a place of brokenness individually.
We had a situation that we were broken. We couldn't become a family.
I remember battling the feeling of wanting to be a mom and wanting to carry my child, but if I said yes to the adoption route, I wasn't going to get that. That was a hard surrender. But when I finally did it, I just knew in that moment that God was telling me, Tara, you have to surrender this to me. And I promise that I'm going to fulfill your desire, but you have to surrender that. And so I did.
We started really praying about and thinking through adoption. It wasn't long until we both came together on that and said, hey, we don't have to have a biological child. We just want a child to love and to bring into our home.
For our first adoption, we had to obviously do our home study, get checked out, make sure we weren't, anybody crazy. They said they approved us.
So we got the call. Wyatt's birth mother had given birth. We rushed off to the hospital.
I remember getting on the elevator, and he grabbed my hand, and we kind of looked at each other and like, okay, let's go get a baby. They sat us down and put him in my arms, and it was just like an overwhelming wave of just complete peace, and the Lord had showed us all of the things that we had doubted before, our fears. Everything had just kind of come to a head, and he said, this is why I've made you walk through all of the hard for this good and for this baby.
Just the instant connection. I think as a father, that was my first thing. It's like, we're just gonna meet this, this baby for the first time. What's that gonna be like? All those fears just went away, and you're like, that's my boy, So it was really cool to hold him, to know that there wasn't an accident. It wasn't a coincidence. It was God's plan from the very beginning. We just had to figure it out. September of 2013, we brought Addie home. I thought we were done at that point. I don't know if Tara was convinced yet. We waited, and my no was a no for a long time until finally my no got turned to a yes. And on April of 2021, we brought home Eliza. We came from a place where I sold a vehicle to finalize Addie's adoption. We did fundraisers, we did all kinds of crazy stuff. I took side jobs, things like that, because of the financial burden to facilitate Addie's adoption. I remember that very specifically. And so when the Lord blessed us and put us in a position where we could maybe do something to help, we're like, you know what, that's what we need to do. We need to help these families, good Christian families that want to adopt, have a desire to adopt, but maybe won't even approach the subject because it seems like an insurmountable amount of money. Our good friends, Mike and Gina Looper, we just started talking to them. And they're one of the families early on that we were able to help, so they've been on that side of the equation.
We were walking down the hallway trying to find a Sunday school group, a life group to join, and Isaac Treesh yanked us into his literally out of the hallway without even saying hello, and started introducing us to everyone, and we met everyone in the class, and it was such a unique class. I feel like half the people in there had adopted. Short time later, we had signed up with an adoption agency, and there were several couples in our class that were actually adopting at the same time, as well as other couples in the church. A couple of the groups came together, a couple of the life groups and some of the members at Bill Schultz came together and held a fundraiser, and we named it the Forever Home Fundraiser for all the couples in the church at the time that were adopting. And it did pretty well. It helped a lot of couples, and a lot of the couples were able to get their kid pretty quick after that and help out. 3 years later, they turned that fundraiser into a foundation, trying to help more couples.
So we started Forever Home Foundation in 2017, and we had the goal of just helping 4 families a year. That's kind of what we started out with. We went from 4 families to this year, it looks like we're gonna help somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 families receive a significant grant towards their adoption. So it's just been awesome to see the Lord. It's like the Lord always does when you say yes, he shows up in a bigger way than you expect him to.
If you're coming from a situation of where you don't know that you can physically have children, you're really trying to fulfill your family. If you're coming to it from a situation of God's really calling us to help out a birth mom, to help her get her life back on track, you're wondering, am I ever gonna do that amount of good I wanna do? Because the process takes so long, so you got to start to get dejected. And then over half our families, the amount of an adoption is more than what they make in a year, because it's just so expensive. The amount of time it takes, the funds involved, a lot of people just start to wonder if this is what God's really calling me to do. It's such a struggle. But I can tell you, every time we get on a call with somebody and we let them know you've been awarded a grant, they break down, they tear up, they feel like this is God telling them they can keep going. It's a pretty amazing experience. It's uplifting for us and for them. What would it mean to you guys to get another grant from Forever Home Foundation?
Honestly, that would just be incredible. Every $20, every $100, it just means so much to us because, it's so helpful for us financially, but what it really does is it kind of just reaffirms to us God has us, He's backing us, He's providing for us, and it's really just stirring our faith.
We did want to let you know we've already been praying for you guys, and the board has decided to award you guys a $10,000 grant.
Oh my God.
Congratulations, guys.
Congratulations.
It's insane.
Hey, listen, before we pray for you guys, we want to let you know that whether it's $5,000 or $10,000, Forever Home's going to cover the rest of your cost, okay?
Oh my gosh. Oh. Praise the Lord.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
The biggest need we have for Forever Home right now is we just need more families to step up to the plate. And then, of course, right alongside that, we need funds to help out with those families. So there are, in Florida alone, hundreds of thousands of kids that need families, and less than a 20th of that stepping up to the plate. When you hear the stories of these birth moms that have nowhere else to go, and their only alternative is an abortion, and then they hear about another family that's willing to take their child in, that birth mom sees Jesus. That child who was at the end of his life rope before he was even born suddenly has a chance to live a fulfilled life through Jesus and come to know him personally.
I never imagined the hurt and the loneliness that I felt at one point would turn into a beautiful family that is a picture of what God can do.
The gospel is adoption. We are all adopted into God's family, and there's nothing we can do to deserve it, and we didn't have to do anything to earn it. The same way when I picked up Wyatt for that first time, he didn't do anything to come out of that broken situation that he came from and the life that maybe he would have had. He didn't do anything to come out of that and come into our family, just the same way our salvation wasn't earned, So we're all adopted into God's family just the way we've adopted our 3 children into our family, So we see that love of a father in both situations.